suggest that, like I said, that thoughts are actually an alien invasion. And this diagram here, very simple diagram, my advanced AI, artistic intelligence, is going to help us look at this and explore this. And like I said, hi and welcome back to the channel. Now, today I'd like to talk about something that I actually believe has the capacity to totally, utterly transform and revolutionize how you live your life, how you show up in the world, how you bring your ideas to life, how you maneuver through your relationships, how you run your businesses, how you do your work, pretty much everything. Your health, your vitality, your well-being, your general fitness in the world, your level of well-being, your level of inspiration, your level of miraculous wonder, the ability to have access to the miraculous, magical properties and nature of reality. And if you saw in the title, now just before we delve into this, you know, what I'm offering here are just really kind of lenses, viewpoints, possibilities to explore. I'm not saying that I'm telling you the truth, and this is really for you to explore. And the whole point of what I'm sharing here is for you to make these explorations. And it's one thing somebody telling you about something, but it's a whole totally different matter if you make the investigation and you discover these things for yourself. So this is really about you entering a voyage of exploration and adventure into something that I feel is the most fundamental and important thing in the world, our consciousness, the ability to see the wonder, the true wonder of being in a human form, having this human experience with access to the incredible wonders of reality. So this is for your exploration. So what I'm suggesting here, and I'm going to be dramatic about it. I guess it's the Italian in me, the kind of the operatic quality. I'm going to suggest that what you think of as your thoughts are actually more like an alien invasion. Now, what do I mean by that? And I don't mean all thoughts. I'm really talking about most thoughts, and we'll explore this. And I think there's even something in the semantics. Well, the things that we call thoughts are not actually thoughts, and they are indeed this alien invasion. But these aren't aliens. These aren't the greys. These aren't things in flying saucers. This is a very different kind of alien invasion. It's not the kind of conventional one that we might think when we hear that word. So in a way, the alien is maybe just something that is not right for where it's at. It comes from somewhere else. It comes from a different perspective. It has a different agenda. It has a different way of showing up in the world, in reality. So that's really what I'm talking about when I say alien, just to define that. So I'm going to suggest that, like I said, that thoughts are actually an alien invasion. And this diagram here, very simple diagram, my advanced AI, artistic intelligence, is going to help us look at this and explore this. And like I said, you decide for yourself after you've watched this and see what you think. So the first thing, and you've heard this has been going on for millennia, but I'm going to put a very different slant on it. So we'll just go through this, bear with me. And you probably heard this and so many different things, so many philosophies and all of these different things, meditation techniques, spiritual things, have always kind of pondered the fact of thought. And the one experiment is that, if you're in control of your thoughts, then stop thinking. Don't we try that now? Whatever you're thinking, whether it's a pink elephant or a flying rhinoceros, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Just stop your thoughts. Okay, so how successful were you at stopping your thoughts? Well, if you're like pretty much everyone, I'd say not successful. So thoughts just happen. They just rampage on, regardless of whether you want them or not. So the thought about something that's going to happen next week, you could say in evolutionary terms, oh, that's handy because we're just simulating something that might happen in the future. But I'm going to show you why that way of thinking about thoughts is all part of the alien invasion. So let's get into it. Now, you don't think your thoughts. If you were thinking your thoughts, then you would have the ability to stop them. If they were your thoughts, you have ownership of those thoughts. You can decide when you want to think. You can switch them off if you don't want to think them. So in a sense, if we kind of look a little bit deeper, we could say that you don't actually have thoughts, but thoughts have you. And we could go even further into this. This is a very fascinating way of investigating, because then you could say, you can apply this to a lot of things. You could say, you don't have money, money has you. And if you get even more wild and wonderful, you could say that actually the biggest, most prolific invader of the Western world is actually wheat. So wheat has infiltrated the human system to make it the most prolific plant on the planet. So we don't have wheat, wheat has us. And this, you can look at this, you can keep rolling this out. It's a really fascinating way. It's kind of one of these thought experiments. It's a fascinating way to look at it. So you don't have thoughts, thoughts have you. But I'm going to propose that there's what we call thoughts. Our thoughts are not real thoughts. They're part of what I've termed the alien invasion. So just looking at this diagram here, this advanced diagram, and I haven't got my lapel mic on, so my voice fades out as I turn my head, so sorry about that. In fact, I didn't have it on my last video as well, so I don't know what I've done with it, so I've got to find it anyway. So the lapel doesn't have, I don't have the lapel mic, but the lapel mic has me because it's screwing up my video. So we can, another way of looking at it as well. So I'm going to suggest, and I'll speak a little bit louder when I turn around, that there's two different types of thought, making this really simple, right? There's natural thought, and then there's the alien or unnatural thought. So natural thought comes from within. So we have this inner reality. We have this inner radiance, which is like the living essence. When I say inner, I mean I'm pointing here, but it's an inner, it's an internal. It comes from somewhere deep within our being. There's an inner radiance. There's a vitas, a life energy. And if we just take a moment, we can all locate that. We can all be aware of that. It's the most obvious thing in our entire life. And yet it's not. And we can look at why isn't that? So I'm going to say there's this radiance, and this radiance, and you could say that the next thing up from this pure radiance, energy, light, has kind of an illumination to it, an inner illumination. We come to feelings. And so the primary way that we understand reality. I mean, if you think about when a baby's born, a baby, you know, it's not born being able to talk. It hasn't got language. So it comes into the world and it's completely, in a sense, it's completely free. It has that, it's just completely free of time, free of language, free of concepts, free of ideas. And its primary investigation or means of navigating reality is feelings. So we look at that. So I'm going to suggest that what I call natural thought emanates out from this core, and it goes through feelings, and then it arrives where it sort of picks up. It becomes manifest in the way, in thought, natural thought. So there's an image, and then from there there's an imperative to take action, to move, or not take action. So our most natural state, like animals, for example, I mean, you know, animals aren't sitting there thinking about, you know, oh, you know, I was rude to that person last week and I shouldn't have done that, and that's not a good thing, and that animals just are in the moment. Like the universe is, like, I think even Schopenhauer, the philosopher, you know, they sort of talked about this will of nature, this will of life. And it's a natural, spontaneous will. And I think there's even a sign, I think it's computationally, computational incomprehensibility, something like that. And what it means is that the computations to understand for the universe to understand its own computation, its own output of information, is so utterly vast, eternally vast, that the only way the universe knows itself is to live itself. So in a way, our inner core is very much like that. It's computationally irreducible. I think that's the word. Well, yeah, something like that. Anyway, it's a great term. I'll have to look it up. But the point is that this natural thought takes place kind of like in as close to real time as possible, and it emanates out from this core, and our thoughts trigger or open up the possibility of response. So our ability to respond. So we get a responsibility, an ability to respond. And of course, you know, we have the outside world coming at us. Shall I do the outside world? What's the outside world going to be? Maybe a blue or whatever. So the outside world comes out and it hits these, or the natural thoughts come up and they sort of coincide with this, and then there's a response. So we take action. And this was because now, as we've gone on, we've come into language. They also give our words a quality. Our language takes on a quality. It's a responsive quality. Okay, so this is a way of thinking, and I'm calling it natural thought. So natural thought, you're not constantly, like I said, you know, stressing and ruminating over the future or the past, and you're in the moment, and thoughts arise that have real traction. You know, they're useful, they're pleasant, they're expansive, they have a like I said, like a quality to them. And even they, you know, once you really start to look at this, what I'm going to explain, what I'm explaining, there's a kind of illumination to the thoughts. It's very interesting. The more you delve into this, you start to see that there's a quality to these thoughts that come from the inner radiance. There's a quality to them. Okay, so alien thought. I'm going to describe it in a way that maybe so we can all just sort of think about it, is that this lovely system of natural thinking, at some point there was kind of like a foreign installation, we'll call it. So this kind of other form of thought saw this amazing system and thought, hey, I can live off that. That's fantastic. That I'm going to live off that energetic system. So then we got the kind of thought that is constantly on the go, constantly nagging us. The voice in our head, this voice in our head sort of showed up. It's like it just showed up. And people say, oh, you know, it's the prefrontal cortex developer, that. But I'm just questioning this whole way of looking at it. So these thoughts, when the outside world, things happen, situations and circumstances, this other alien invasion, this alien app, this weird installation, doesn't respond, it reacts. So it's a reactive system. And you can see, I mean, you know, our thought, what we call our thoughts. So in this system, this is who you are. There's feelings, there's this radiance core, and then there's feelings, and then there's these natural thoughts. So you don't need to think about who you are because you know who you are. It's obvious, it's absolutely obvious. But with this alien invasion, these take over and they have this incredible piece of functionality. It's miraculous in and of itself, because these things that are not you and really don't have much to do with you start to take over the entire system until you become them. So you, the thing that you think is you, is all here. And the real essence of you starts to become less and less visible as this sheen of stuff. And then, you know, it takes on things from outside our life, things that happen, situations and circumstances, reaction, 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 more reaction, 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 builds up, and this layer becomes thicker and thicker and thicker. As we get older, we have more stuff going on, more life, thicker and thicker and thicker and thicker, until this beautiful, natural, vital way of thinking is forgotten. Now, what I'm suggesting here is that once you understand this, once you see it, and you really investigate, and you notice that, you know, the 70 or 80 so thousand thoughts you have a day, you know, most of them are all about reacting and ruminating, talking about the past, And what is it up to? What is this system up to? It is using your energy and your vitality, using your life energy to keep itself going. So like, remember I went back to talk about money? You don't have money, money has you. So once we start to investigate reality and look at this, we start to see that there's these kind of, there's spells involved in this, like magic. So we're under the spell of this system of reaction, rumination. And what do you do about this? Well, the most important thing that you can do about it is to notice what's happening. And the more you notice what's happening, and the more you become aware of how this alien invasion has ruled and is ruling your entire life, it determines pretty much everything. Once you start to see that the workings, it's like the Wizard of Oz, you pull back the curtain, you start to see the workings, the mechanism that keeps this in place. And I'm going to suggest that the most fundamental mechanism is, of course, FEAR. False evidence appearing real. So this falsifies evidence, and it uses the technology of language to tell you stories about you. And it talks about you incessantly. So this radiant core doesn't say anything about you. It doesn't need to say anything about you because it's already obvious. Now, what we don't realize until we realize it is that how do you work around this? Because it seems like this becomes an impenetrable barrier to ever really having any experience of who we naturally are. But when you realize that fear, false evidence appearing real, also uses fear, the emotional fear, to keep us going. And then on top of that, it uses this, it's like the carrot with the stick, with the donkey with the carrot and the stick. No matter how fast you run, you never get the carrot. So you stop reacting to this. And something quite magical happens when you just create that, I call it a creative pause in life. I talk about this a lot. But when you start to notice, just even having this concept that this is not who you are, starts to create this little gap, tiny little gap to begin with. And then the more you just allow that little gap, so instead of reacting the way you always, where it always reacts, it posing as you just allow a bit of space and you don't. And then what you'll notice is that something else is given a little bit of a shout in the game over time. Slowly, you'll notice the quality of directive. I call it the guiding principle, even written a book about it. So the guiding principle is something that you have, everyone has, And it's like a natural guidance system. And it comes from your deepest core, your deepest being. And if you think about it, the deepest part of it, I mean, all our organs, our brain, who's firing the synapses in the brain? Who's directing the electrical currents? Who's directing the blood flow? The beating of the heart? The transfer of, the ATP turning into kinetic energy? The digestion of your food, the extraction of amino acids. Who's controlling the light photons as they go into bounce into your retina? What's controlling that? Do you not think that that's vastly more intelligent than this? But you see, this core of you is that I would call it light intelligence, intelligence of light. And this, it's possible to become more and more familiar with the thought or the forms that come from this. And notice more and more what's happening out here. And this is more like this. It seems like it's so incredibly dense and strong, this alien thing. But actually it's incredibly weak. And it's like, if you stop exercising it, you stop placing your focused attention upon it, you stop reacting as it wants you to react. See, it can't bear to be still. Because in that stillness, there's a possibility that you might notice it living your life. So to become still and to start to discern the difference between this and this is the key. And what you'll notice is that your life will start to take on a different quality. A life that isn't reactive and fearful and agitated and in an adversarial relationship with the world. So when your actions and your words emanate from here, then the quality of your communication becomes softer, becomes kinder, becomes more inspirational. You become open to the more magical interrelatedness of reality, because this just blots everything out. And this is all posing as survival. And the belief that in order to survive, we have to suffer. Life is suffering. Whereas this gives us the opportunity to live life from a magical, more wondrous, more miraculous perspective, and to see past these limitations and to understand the deeper aspects of consciousness and who we really are and what we're part of and the possibilities. So I just invite you to explore this. Let me know. Don't take my word for it. Okay, thanks for watching.